transformation in research and education. This theme was chosen to deepen exploration of ICT contribution in research and education. It is expected that participants will come up with issues to assist in transformation of education and research and hence contribute positively to national socio-economic activities. This conference has drawn about 250 participants, of whom some are attending virtually. A total of 55 abstracts were received, in which only 44 papers were submitted for review. And as we speak, we have 22 papers which will be presented in the today and tomorrow, because we have 2 days. These papers will focus on the following themes: education technologies, e-learning, research and collaboration, strategic planning for digital transformation, technical solutions and tools for digital transformation. There will also be a panel discussion on the following cutting-edge topics: open science and collaboration, fourth industrial revolution and its implication in education and research, women and girls in ICT and research, and policy and regulatory framework for digital economy session. This conference has been preceded by various activities. We had a training of network engineers from 17 higher learning and research institutions, which attracted 35 participants. They have been trained on campus network design and DNS security. There was also an ICT Directors Forum, which was attended by 25 institutions. The ICT directors are the key drivers of ICT in respective institutions, so we thought better to have a forum for them. And this is not only for this year, but it will be continuously. Lastly, we will have an annual general meeting, which will be held tomorrow. Honorable guest of honor, Stelnet, we have various achievements. Just to mention a few, our membership has been grown. Currently, we have 52 active members, and we are offering more than 22 services. We are currently recognized also by regional and global networks. We have a capacity of 1.2G, which is being consumed by our members. We are also providing support, technical support to higher education research network, HERIN. And we also do time to time capacity building programs, and we provide software services and third-party services brokerage for our members. Honorable guest of honor, apart from the achievements, there are also some challenges. I'd like to mention a few. We are still faced with connectivity costs, which are high, especially for our members who are in remote areas. We also need to access the data centers which are in the country so that we can provide backups and hosting services. Again, as members, there are some policy issues when it comes to bulky purchases of tools and software for research and education. But also we have a capacity which is about 10G and has not fully been utilized. And in the case of membership, although we have 52, but we have more than 200 potential members. In concluding my remarks, I would like to thank you again for your time. And I would like also to thank all committees who we have worked together to make this conference a success. Lastly, but not least, guests of honor, I would also like to recognize in a special way some of the people who have contributed positively before for Telnet to be in this place. These are former CEOs. I've just mentioned them. We only have one in person and one I think is virtually attending. To recognize Dr. Jabiri Bakari, who was the first CEO of Telnet, now I think working with the TCRA. Also to recognize Dr. Amos Nungu, who also was one time served as Telnet Executive Secretary, and also to recognize Dr. Margaret Mushi, who I hope is online following us, because she just left Telnet by the end of 30th August. Guest of honor, this is the end of our speech. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stephen Lukindo, for the welcome remarks. May I now please welcome Professor Lugano Kusilika, who is the annual general meeting chairperson, to welcome our guest of honor to deliver his opening speech.
Honorable guest of honor, Dr. Jim Yonas, Deputy Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Information, Communication, and Information Technology, the Executive Secretary of Telnet, the Director General of COSTECH, Dr. Amos Nungu, the CEO of UbuntuNet, Dr. Matthew Mtumbuka, the dear members who are participating in this first conference on digital transformation. Honorable guest of honor, on behalf of the Secretariat of Senate and the AGM of Telnet, and on behalf of all these participants, I would like to register first our great appreciation for you accepting to come and officiate this event. We know you were in Dodoma yesterday, and probably you are the first person to wake up today more than any of the participants here. Now this one shows your commitment towards the cause of making sure that Tanzania embraces digital transformation. Being a country in the middle income economy category, it means we have to be part of the drivers of digital economies and digital transformation. And the purpose of this very first conference organized by Telnet is to make sure that we have a common and a good understanding about what digital transformation is all about and what it means to the development of a country which is aspiring to go into the first economies country in that category. We would like to go there because we managed to go into the middle income. So it is possible for us to become a big economy like China, like America, like anybody else. But because currently the digital world is driving the digital economy, we cannot afford to lag behind. And that's why we have assembled here researchers and people who are participating in educating the Tanzanian, the African, and the global community on how we can optimally utilize digital technologies to make sure that we get the best of the benefits out of it. And therefore, we are very grateful that you have come here, and we know you are representing the minister for this particular ministry, who is very, very new. And we really appreciate that the minister and the entire administration of the ministry has found this one to be a very important event, just as we are seeing it And that's why you find there are so many people from many institutions. And then, to be frank, we didn't expect this level of participation around this time where we have major health challenges across the world. So I would like, on behalf of those who have attended here, to thank you very much for coming. And we are ready to listen from you as a person in a leader in the ministry which is driving this particular agenda. And we trust that from your wisdom, this conference will be very successful, and be assured with our resolutions will trickle up to your ministry, and we believe in that way we'll have connected the entire ecosystem which is supposed actually to embrace digital transformation. With these few remarks, I have the honor to welcome you to address this congregation.
Professor Lugano Kusuluka, the Turnet AGM Chairperson, Dr. Amos Nungu, the Director General of COSTECH, the Executive Committee of Turnet board members, Mr. Stephen Lukindo, the CEO of Tanzania Education Research Network, and please allow me to recognize the presence of my academic boss present here today, so that when I go back to academic, I can still be welcomed, and that is Dr. Faraja Teddy Gira. I hope I did it very well. Sometimes you have to behave when your boss is around. The CEO of UbuntuNet, Dr. Matthews Mtumbuka, karibu sana, all the way from Malawi. And I'm quite grateful to have my colleagues and friends and classmates here in this conference. I can see Dr. Garcia, Dr. Kundwe, and the rest. And members of the press, good morning, everyone. I bring you greetings from the ministry, the just newly formed ministry, Ministry of Information, Communication, and Information Technology. I think it is the newest ministry now in the list of ministries in Tanzania. Initially, it was the Ministry of Communication and Information Technology. That was formed just last year, December 5th. But now we have another new ministry with addition of information portfolio to our ministry. Ladies and gentlemen, from the Minister, Honorable Ashatu Kijaji, and the Permanent Secretary, Dr. Zainab Chaula, they send you their greetings and appreciations for organizing this meeting. So it gives me pleasure and honor to join you this morning and be part of this historic event, the first international conference for the Tanzania Education and Research Network. First and foremost, allow me to express my gratitude to God for allowing us to meet here today to participate in this important event. I've been informed that this conference was supposed to be held last year, but was postponed due to COVID-19. I'm therefore very pleased that this year it has been possible. I congratulate you all. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to express my sincere gratitude on behalf of the ministry and the minister and the permanent secretary and the entire management of the ministry to Terranet for organizing this important conference and bringing together academicians, researchers, and champions in the industry of ICT and digital transformation, particularly from the academia and knowledge creators, for making sure that they participate and be ready to share their knowledge. The theme of the conference is digital transformation towards education and research, and really it has come at the right time, not only for higher education and research institutions in Tanzania, but for Africa and the world at large. Education and research institutions are known as a critical component in contributing to social and economic development in the world. In that way, we all agree that this contribution is really contributed again, facilitated by these kind of conferences which bring together academicians, researchers, innovators, but also people from the industry to share their knowledge and strategize on how they can use technology and innovations for social and economic development. So I welcome you all for critical thinking, but again for fruitful discussions. Ladies and gentlemen, the advancing of technology, particularly the fourth industrial revolution, is pushing us to further our research and innovations in various areas which are important as we coordinate ICT and adopt and adapt to its power in our life. We have various areas such as artificial intelligence, big data analytics, edge computing, internet, social media, augmented reality, and many more. In that way, we have to appreciate the power of these new developments on how they reshape our thinking, but also our ways of life. This is a continuous change. It has started some years ago, it won't stop, and therefore we have to make sure that we further it forward, but again we adopt to the changes. As we all know, ICT is needed in various economic development activities in our lives, and therefore the government has invested a lot in making sure that ICT benefits Tanzanians. The world now is a digital economy, and it has really become a small village. I was just discussing with, I was being introduced to CEO of UbuntuNet, and I realized that he comes from Malawi, but he's not new to me. That shows that we connect, we work together, regardless of space and also time. And this is the essence of fourth industrial revolution, which really affects our way of living, our strategies, investment, and so forth. Information from the industry indicates that in 2020, more than 20 billion items and devices in the world were connected. I'm not sure what is the current population of the world, possibly 6 billion or so, but that shows that we have more devices connected to the internet, more than our own population. And this sends a signal that there's something that we need to be doing. The government is pleased to note that there is a high penetration of internet in Tanzania. For example, in 2005, we had only 3.6 million users of the internet in this country. But as we speak, in June this year, we had 29.2 million users of the internet in Tanzania. But again, we had about more than 54 million subscribers, mobile subscribers in the world, in Tanzania. And these are the only registered ones. As you understand, we started registering SIM cards somewhere in 2019. And now we have 54 million registered SIM card users in this country. This shows again that there's a very high adoption of technology, but again, particularly mobile technology. And the reason for this is that we need, and we are pushed to connect with each other. But again, machines are also connecting. For that sense, then, we need to have plans, strategies, programs that will allow us to take advantage of the new development. And therefore, the government has invested a lot, and by 2025, we expect to have the national ICT backbone to reach the 15,000 kilometers goal. That is going into each and every district in Tanzania, and therefore, again, push forward to ensure that last mile connectivity is achieved. In this regard, therefore, we see that there's a lot of development in Tanzania, and hence we need to have experts in this area. Experts to manage, to develop, to plan, but again to utilize ICT for development. And for that reason, this is the essence of having these kind of meetings, whereby people sit down and get knowledge, share knowledge, but again, plan on how they can utilize ICT for their development. And we recognize in the government that Tanzania still needs a lot of expertise in the area of ICT. And therefore, the ministry, through the Commission of ICT, started a program and a database to register all ICT experts in Tanzania. And I urge you all ICT experts to take part in this registration so that we can be able to know who is who, where, and the expertise that we have in our country. And therefore, we'll be able to plan programs, strategies, but again, understand the capacity of our country in terms of ICT. So I welcome you all to visit the website of ICT Commission and register yourself for this purpose. Ladies and gentlemen, knowledge centers such as universities, colleges, research institutions do a very good job in our country. They help us to gather knowledge, but again to share. But again, we have networks of conferences like these ones are really appreciated in the government because they provide us with a way in which knowledge that has been created can be shared. And therefore, they are important platforms for knowledge sharing. And we expect, therefore, this conference will also play the same role and provide the government with effective strategies to enable Tanzania benefit from global industrial revolution that relies heavily on ICT development. As we all know, digital transformation is the pillar of digital economy. And thank you very much, Professor Lugano, for highlighting this in your speech. Over the next 5 years, we want to see Tanzania connected. And also we want to see our country as one of the important hubs of ICT in the sub-region, but again in Africa, possibly in the world as well. And therefore, we need to collaborate. We need to understand the strategy that has been set forward by the government, but by other stakeholders as well. And therefore, I bring you the ICT policy, which is a very important tool for us to read and align our strategies, and of course contribute in the review of the policy so that we can all together push forward in the utilization of ICT for our country. The implementation of the ICT policy has resulted in several outcomes that include the deployment of ICT infrastructure. And now I'm happy to inform you that we have laid the fiber cable, the main trunk of the national ICT backbone, up to 8,319 kilometers across the country. And by the end of this financial year, we'll be above 12,000 kilometers as part of the investment that the government is currently doing. And the country currently is having more than 26,000 kilometers of optical fiber that is available for connectivity. As you can see, it's not only the government that is investing, but we are also collaborating with the private sector and other parties to ensure that connectivity is available in our country. We also have the Universal Communication Access Fund that has facilitated the availability of mobile connectivity across the country up to 94%, and I think this is a commendable development. Ladies and gentlemen, apart from this development, in 2014, the government invested in the construction of HERING, the Higher Education and Research Institution Network. And I'm happy that some of the pioneers of the projects are here. And thank you very much to everyone who participated and had this vision. And in that recognition, let me also recognize the contribution of Dr. Nungu, Amos Nungu, the DG of COSTECH. I think he deserves a round of applause. He did a very good job, I'm sure, with the rest of us here, present here today, Professor and the like. Thank you very much for that vision that made it possible to have the network. Furthermore, the government saw the importance of ICT, and as you can see, today we have a full-fledged ministry, the Ministry of Information, Communication, and Information Technology. I think this is a new concept in terms of alignment of the government here in this country. And you have all heard many times when the president is mentioning about the importance of ICT in our country. And particularly in this year, we have all witnessed the theme of the Mwenge. I can't recite it well, but it is emphasizing the use of ICT for social and economic development. I think this is a very, very important step forward for our country in terms of using but also investing in ICT. We have completed the phase 1 of implementation of Tanzania Development Vision 2025, and currently we are implementing phase 2 of the plan. And therefore, what we are looking forward is to bring a digital economic transformation and industrial revolution for human development in Tanzania. Ladies and gentlemen, the government has been working to support systems and plans and strategies that are aimed to advance research and education in our country. In this way, the ministry is supporting these kind of conferences. And therefore, we are also commending TENET for a very good job done for organizing the conference, for inviting people, for making sure that we have knowledge. I just went through the timetable and I found some interesting papers that are going to be presented here today. And Professor, allow me again to sit after the session so that I can listen to this beautiful and well done research to be presented here today. And let me be frank with you that it's from the government, when you are from the academia and then you get an opportunity to come to these kind of academic and scientific conferences, you feel more at home. And I'm quite happy to be here today to share and also to be part of the conference participants and get scientific knowledge from you. And that's why you see that today we have come as a ministry to support and participate in this important conference. TENET is a national education and research network with the primary objective of connecting higher learning and research institutions so that they can share resources and realize economies of scale. I congratulate TENET for successfully connecting a large number of institutions, and I'm aware that to date we have about 28 institutions connected to this network. This is a very good job, and I hope that the rest which are not connected will also endeavor to connect them. The government recognizes the important role that the TENET is fostering in the use of ICT in knowledge centers including universities, colleges, and research institutions, and provide affordable bandwidth relevant for activities of the institutions. And now let me highlight that out of the achievement that we have done, we still have challenges that prohibit or challenge the use of ICT, particularly in research and learning. One of such kind of problem is the high cost of the internet. And this hinders researchers, but also learners from spending their time online looking for knowledge. Sometimes it takes a while to download a document, or nowadays, as we understand, we use video conferencing, or sometimes we use YouTube and other social media networks to learn. Personally, I learn a lot from social media, particularly the YouTube. Whenever I want to learn a new concept, that becomes the first landing point. And nowadays, I understand, Professor Kusuluka, possibly you still like books. I also like books. I also like books a lot. But for quick knowledge, it's also very convenient to use available networks for knowledge. We have started working on this. And as I said before, we're investing a lot on fiber networks across the country. But also we are inviting investment for submarine cables. So investors are welcome in this country, and that we believe that in that way, we'll be able to bring down the cost of the internet and be able to connect our country to the rest of the world. We understand also that there are other challenges, and many of them are being worked upon by the government. We welcome you all to work with the government to ensure that we address the rest of the challenges, so that we can allow our people to utilize fully ICT for development. As you all understand, it's also a challenge to obtain or acquire ICT equipment because of high costs. But the government has taken some steps, and nowadays, as you understand, in this financial year, the government has provided a tax relief for importation of ICT, particularly smartphones, from outside the country. But also we have initiatives that will see the country be able to assemble and eventually manufacture ICT equipment in our country. And we believe that with these kind of initiatives, we'll be able to bring down the cost, but make available devices and equipment of ICT for connectivity in our country. Through the implementation of ICT policy, it requires us to develop manufacturing, but also assembling factories in our country. We are seeing that possibly happening in the very near future, and the government is committed to ensure that that happens. And personally, I see a great need to develop talents as well. Currently, most of the software in the country have been developed outside the country. And that's why the Commission for Science and Technology, but again, the ICT Commission in Tanzania are working together. And I call again for universities, colleges, and research institutions to work together with the government so that we can develop the capacity and ability and talents, potential to ensure that our country develop its own software industry and products and services in our country. The private sector is an important partner, and therefore we welcome the private sector. My ministry is ready and committed to work with the private sector and other parties to ensure that we bring ICT to development, to economic development, and to our people. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my hope that after this session, we'll all partner with the government and also provide recommendations and answers to questions that will be asked in this conference and many other more that will contribute to social and economic development in Tanzania through ICT. Digital transformation is an important tool for creating jobs in Tanzania, but again, for elevating the progress of our economy. I sincerely thank the Telnet for this initiative and recommend that forthcoming year, financial year, or post-academic year, financial year, you organize again such kind of a conference, probably in Dodoma, the capital city, so that many more government officials can be able to participate. I'm not sure how many are from Dodoma this morning. Could be the only one. Yeah, but it is important that you can also organize it in Dodoma. It might not be surprising to see also members of parliament participating, and that would be a big credit for the conference. To conclude, I thank you all for coming and participating. I also commend those who took part and wrote papers and presentations. We are ready now to listen and to contribute to the conference, and therefore I declare this conference opened. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Dr. Jimmy Yonas, our guest of honor, for your opening speech, which have highlighted the key issues on digital transformation, indicating what the government is expecting in the process and what it is planning, but also the preparations that have been done within the government through our ministry with regard to digital transformation. And most important to our participants today, the call that you have made for them to actively to take part in the process. Thank you very much. I'm personally honored to be the moderator of this today's session. So it's time now for the group photo, and it has been arranged to take place at the ground floor. So can we please take group photo? Okay, so before we go for the group photo, may I now take this opportunity to welcome Dr. Moses Mwasanga. Please come and deliver your vote of thanks to our guest of honor before we take the group photo.
Thank you very much. Honorable Dr. Jimmy Yonas, Deputy Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Information, Communication, and IT, Annual General Meeting Chairman, Executive Secretary of Telnet, UbuntuNet CEO, Director General of COSTECH, most varied invited researchers and guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is my sincere privilege to have been asked to prepare a vote of thanks on this occasion. I, on behalf of the entire Telnet Organizing Committee, must mention our deep sense of appreciation for Dr. Jimmy Yonas for the explanation and the articulation that he has given, which has supported our theme, which is toward digital transformation in education and research. To elaborate that, I listened to your speech very keenly, and I've come with 10 points. which helps to set ground for all the discussion which will be done in these 2 days. And what I've jotted down is, first of all, the support of the government for digital transformation in our country that will support education and research, especially in this era of fourth industrial revolution. Second, support for digital transformation to achieve the goal of socio-economical development by taking advantage of what you articulated very well, knowledge centers. You emphasize very clearly new type of technologies which are making this fourth industrial revolution reality, like to take advantage of artificial intelligence in research and education. You mentioned edge computing, big data, blockchain technology, Internet of Things, and the supporting infrastructure that have been built by government that will support all of these new technologies, which most of them, they require robust infrastructure which is available already. Also, you have mentioned the government has invested a lot in digital transformation for the entire economy, and also the ministry is having a big project which is called Digital Tanzania. So it's toward that. You mentioned also the high penetration of the internet, of which is complementing all the needed things for digital transformation in research and education. You emphasized the importance of collaboration, of which the conferences like these, they help us to collaborate with all researchers around the world. You have also articulated the level of infrastructure that has already been implemented in Tanzania and the plan that are ahead. You have mentioned the infrastructure which was built to support education institutions in Tanzania. You have articulated so well the measures that the government that is doing and has done and is doing to make the ICT affordable in the country, and the importance of having talents in our country that they can do innovation and do all those things. So your speech has touched all the things which are important in digital transformation. And we believe that this would set aside the ground for researchers and the speakers to present their findings and also to have very robust discussion. On my own behalf, I would like to extend a very heartily vote of thanks to all the speakers and researchers that will present their findings in this conference. Once again, thank you very much, Dr. Jimmy Yonas, for touching keynote speech, of which has set ground for further deliberations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Moses. There have been a change of the timetable because our keynote speaker, who is online, has been waiting since morning. So we would like to now have that time. Instead of going for a group photo, we will take our group photo later. Dear guest of honor, can you now please move to the front seat so that we can have the keynote speech before we go for the group photo, so that we don't continue to keep him online.
I confirm that I can be heard? Should I just kick in? Master or mistress of ceremonies kindly guide. Can I hear from the mistress of ceremonies so that, oh yes, I can be heard. Okay, thanks a lot. I'll therefore begin right away. Colleagues, first of all, our guest of honor, Dr. Jimmy Younaz, it has been exciting listening to you because you have really laid the groundwork, the policy framework for what we are going to discuss. TANET, the chair of TANET, I'm not going to use title because I've seen so many friends online here. Amos, who is now the Director General of COSTECH, Matthews, CEO of the Alliance, Tuwonge, Jabiri, all these are old colleagues, and therefore I feel like I'm really at home in Salam. I was actually supposed to be there in person, guest of honor and the chairman of TANET, both of you, but my return this moment that present online is continuing. Permit me to start by referencing a Zen philosopher, Suzuki. In his mind, there are many possibilities, but in the expert's mind, there are very few. As I sit here today in the offices of the Research and Education Network of Uganda, one of the exciting developments that I've got a location I can come and sit and really enjoy engaging with friends around the world. Thank you very much, Nicholas, for that. I would like to invite us all to open our minds to new ideas and new possibilities, because that is very important. I think as the guest of honor underscored, we all know that global interconnectedness at the social, the business level means that every location in the world, every individual is part of the global whole. What happens in Anchorage, Alaska, will impact someone in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, much as what happened in Arusha, Tanzania, or Bangkok, Thailand will. We are no longer isolated, and therefore we look at our challenges and opportunities on a global scale. We are in collaboration and competition, colleagues, with the rest of the world. And if education and research collaboration in Europe, the Americas, and Asia Pacific are blazing away at terabits per second, we cannot afford to remain at a pedestrian 1 gigabit per second unless in our higher education institutions. When the world is using artificial intelligence, again, this has been touched on by the guest of honor, driven by artificial intelligence-driven search engines to scan and integrate information from millions of papers, we cannot afford to be using yesterday's pedestrian approaches of brilliant ideas such as pouring through abstracts all night. It simply doesn't work anymore. We need to develop the attitude of being equal to the best and indeed being the best. The current global digital transformation do offer us the opportunity to do that. Now, for clarity, transformation is not just about technology. Just like the industrial revolutions, it also involves people. It involves organizational processes. It involves cultural processes and everything that goes along with it. Each of these can be a driver impacting the others, quite often in a mutually self-compounding fashion. A world intention will drive the technology of war. A focus on agriculture will drive technology in agriculture. The COVID pandemic drove people to work remotely, but also created opportunities. It triggered an explosion in development and refinement of platforms and tools to enable remote working, conferencing, education, research, collaboration, connectivity, security, and many others. Now, COVID-19 also triggered a new culture of research. Because without collaboration, it would have been impossible to develop the vaccines and medicines which were done utilizing artificial intelligence, including, for those who could afford it, customizing drugs for individuals, because that can now be done. Artificial intelligence and natural language processing, as many of you have led to an explosion in chatbots, which has totally transformed the service delivery channels of many organizations. And therefore nowadays, quite often, when you call an organization, you could to a chatbot. You could be chatting with a chatbot. That is the common approach nowadays. It is easy to get mired in the excitement and the worry about the many emerging digital trends. So, guest of honor, I will focus on just a few that I believe have got major relevance in a developing country context, with specific focus on higher education. These are the trends that we can exploit to ensure that we can get to the forefront. And therefore, I'm changing the mindset, accepting nomadic learning, harnessing connectivity, disrupting education to match evolving demands, and I'm glad that many people here are academics. Turbocharging research by harnessing the Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, and open research. And then finally, striking the balance between humanity and technology in the fifth industrial revolution. Let us start with changing the mindset. Now, in Africa, we started a serious conversation with stories, and permit me to share the story of Ndiwulira. Ndiwulira translates as I shall hear when the time comes. It is also the name given to the corn earworm, which I'm sure any of you has grown maize will be very familiar with. While the corn was still maturing, Ndiwulira was warned, Ndiwulira, get out of the maize. But because maize was sweet, Ndiwulira said, I will hear when they are harvesting, and I'll then get out. Harvest time came, and the Ndiwulira was again warned. And the Ndiwulira said, I will hear when I'm using the husks for cooking or whatever roasting, and I'll get out. Unfortunately for Ndiwulira, this particular ear corn was steamed with the husks on, and therefore Ndiwulira perished. Now, colleagues, it is common and embarrassing knowledge that the impact of lockdowns was education institutions and governments around the world, and especially in developing countries, by total surprise. And that all the signs and precursors were there. This is not the first pandemic or the first major epidemic that has led to the closure of schools. We all know this. The late 90s, in Makere, for example, that is the industry I used to work. I worked there for 32 years. We introduced e-learning in the year 2000. We had e-labs following soon after that. Makere University has become the way the Makere University e-learning environment, which is based on the model. And we talked about increased access to education for those who don't come to campuses. Talked about better learning opportunities for those on campuses. Ndiwulira chose to get access. More than 20 years. Registrations around the African continent, somebody from KCA. Treating rural areas as second-class citizens with just minimum of connectivity. Now, the executive district is that we can extend fiber network in every district and eventually every parish. And yet, they did not see that soon. operates on the boundaries of the village and is always pushing the envelope out. We all know that the world is always in a constant state of evolution. With both the positive and negative impact of it. We are moving from evolutionary to revolutionary. Now, as an electronic knows, if the time of the transient is very slow, if the time of the transient is very fast, then you cannot talk about a normal situation. And therefore, the word normal should be struck here from our vocabulary. And by the same token, therefore, the word new normal does not exist. Shire, in the things fall apart, those of you might have read it. Naked the bird said, since men learned to shoot without missing, I have learned to fly without patching. Eneke is talking about adaptability and agility for survival. The days of the final product are gone. We must now live in a permanent beta phase of every network we roll out, every product we design, every service we deliver. Our thinking must be on the constant move. We can no longer say that we have arrived. Change is now a constant, not just change, but rapid change has become a constant. To stop flying and patch anywhere is to die. We need to learn adaptability and agility from a naked bird. Let's now move on to nomadic learning. Now, colleagues, a minority in this audience might remember the late 70s when personal computers really started gaining mass markets. At that time, any serious computational work was handled on the mainframe computer. And some of you might remember that this was the god, the electronic god, in a big air-conditioned room to whom everybody in need would go. Our educational systems, colleagues, from the lowest level to the highest level, are operating on a mainframe computer ethos. We are parted from our homes, our families for long periods and at high cost so that we can go to the god called school or college or university. Colleagues, if I come from Karagwe, which is northwestern Tanzania, and I've been there, and I must go to Dar es Salaam to go to school, is that really fair when government is extending connectivity to every district? I've driven across most of Tanzania, colleagues, as a Rotarian, all the way from Arusha down to Tanga and across Dar es Salaam and up to Morogoro and Tabora and Dodoma and all those inner cities, and into Karagwe coming through Mtupula. It's a large country. Is it right that we still collect people to single locations to learn? We have got advances in mobile communications. We have got maturation in learning technologies. We want to give people any time we are learning. I would therefore like to raise the question. I think it was said that since the mountain could not go to Muhammad, Muhammad had to go to the mountain. But maybe we should reverse it in this case. Why can't schools come to us with all the learning technology that has been developed over the last 20 years, with the libraries changing from physical to online resources, with high-power computing and artificial intelligence powering simulations, as well as remote labs, operational physical labs? Why are we stuck with 18th and 19th century approaches to learning? I believe, and I make this strong with statement with confidence, that any university, any school, any country that continues to insist on only the traditional mode of learning will have collapsed in the next 10, 15, or 20 years. We need to change. Nomadic learning means that the students and the faculty of any institution, as we have now discovered during lockdown, could be anywhere in the country, in the region, or in the world. Campuses have lost their physical boundaries, and connectivity must therefore cover the entire geographical spread of locations where students, faculty, administrators, and managers could be. That is the bottom line. Instead of investing in expensive, concentrated infrastructure at our main campuses, We need to invest more in the ICT resources which are going to expand our reach. Let us see the limitation in the lockdowns, because in everything there's a big opportunity waiting to be seized. This demands more than ever before, and this goes to the research and education networks, connectivity collaboration among universities at the national, regional, and global levels, as well as the symbiotic collaboration with the private sector. Remember that the private sector are our partners, they are not our enemies. We must work together so that we can ensure anytime, anywhere access to people who need access. Institutions and RENs, especially in developing countries, must also recognize that they are the big sisters or big brothers of the primary and secondary schools. Colleagues, this is very important. I know we were started for research and education networks for universities and so on, but we are now challenged to think about the primary schools, the secondary schools, who is going to support them. And therefore, national RENs need to expand their mission or mandate. TANET, please do this, to create this level of national value. Because without that, the all critical government support, the kind of things the guest of honor was talking about, will not be coming out to support you. We cannot sustain connectivity to any person anywhere in Tanzania unless work it with collaboration with the government as well as the private sector. And I believe we have a lot to learn from the Cooperation for Education Network initiatives in California, which is called CENIC. Nomadic learning also underscores the urgency of dropping the concept of shared computer labs and shifting to one-to-one computing. It requires that each individual owns a laptop. It requires national level prioritization and investment to ensure that each student in any higher education institution owns a laptop. I know a few countries, including Kenya, Burkina Faso, and Republic of South Africa, have taken steps in that direction with varying levels of achievement. This is a challenge for all our governments. Guest of honor, that message is channeled through you with your kind permission. Let's now talk about harnessing connectivity. And yes, I've heard about some of the cities and connections on it and the Ubuntu Alliance, and I believe we are still living in history. Now, last year we were doing a study for the World Bank. I discussed the matter of bandwidth projections for different sizes of campuses in California with my respected colleague and friend, Louis Fox, who is the CEO of the Cooperation for California Education Network Initiatives in California. By the way, this is a huge network. They are delivering connectivity now at 400 gigabits per second on their backbone at some institutions. His response was that with the rapid evolution of data network technology as well as user needs, he could not give a projection beyond 3 years, as that would be meaningless. So things are changing that fast. As you can see from that illustration from Japan's National Institute of Information and Communications Technology, for long, and they're talking about 3,001 kilometers, they are now delivering connectivity in excess of hundreds of terabits per second. And if you are talking about high-density data centers or instrumentation labs, you are talking more than a petabit per second. That, colleagues, is the current capacity available. This means, and Matthews, please listen to this carefully, as well as TANET, and I know my friend Nicholas of REN is listening to this too, that all our orders for bandwidth need to go 2 orders of magnitude up. Because believe me, whatever is present now will not be sufficient in the next 5 years, indeed 3 years. I know you said that TANET has got 10 gigabits per second, and it's still not being utilized. Once you wake up the latent need, that is going to be far from sufficient. We need to step up so that the smallest campus has got at least 10 gigabits per second. And large campuses like Dar es Salaam University, even if they still need it concentrated, 200 gigabits per second. Anything less cannot talk about collaboration and competition with the rest of the world. You saw that miserable image I showed at the beginning. We cannot afford to stay there any longer. technology has opened up opportunities for affordable, high-speed, high-volume connectivity markets. As Duncan Greaves, this is the CEO of TENET, the most advanced research network in Africa, said that for them, their plan is to always provide sufficient bandwidth to satisfy the needs of the day. They are no longer talking in terms of numbers. They said the user must have enough or slightly more than enough all the time. There should be no constraint to education or research or collaboration because there are limitations in bandwidth. Now, alongside this must be a push for the penetration of 5G mobile so that we can achieve the kind of mobile speeds and quality that are responsive to the needs of nomadic users. And therefore, African countries, I believe Tanzania is already at 4G, which is good. But any section of the network which is not 4G should jump straight away to 5G. So don't go from 2G to 3G to 4G. If you're at 2G in rural areas, wherever it is, please push it up right the scale to 5G, because that is where the students, the learners, and the academics are going to be found. Let me now move on to the big elephant in the room: disrupting education to match evolving market needs. Now, Isaac Asimov, this is actually my favorite science fiction author of all time, because every story he has written came true about 5 to 10 years later. Now, Isaac Asimov wrote I, Robot in 1950, and later The Robots of Dawn in 1983. Some of you might have seen that movie, which was based on I, Robot. Now, his predictions were uncanny in terms of what was later developed, but even he did not foresee the real power of artificial intelligence. We have moved beyond science fiction to times when robot citizens like Sophia of Saudi Arabia and cyborg citizens like Neil Harbison of the UK can now be taken for granted. Colleagues, we are beyond science fiction. We're into a real reality which science fiction could not have foretold. Now, in the early days of robotics, it was really about automation, which meant that it was the repetitive mechanical jobs or those in hazardous environments that were taken over by robots. Times have changed, colleagues. The advancement in artificial intelligence that mimics cognitive learning, the human cognitive learning, has moved robots up the job scale. Patents have been issued for inventions produced purely by artificial intelligence. And all this is driving a rapid change in the future of jobs, making many extinct and demanding new skills from human staff. Now, the World Economic Forum and forward-looking economies place a lot of emphasis on understanding the future of jobs because that feeds into current education. It means that we must shift education now to meet the needs in about 5 years' time. And yet in most of our countries, our universities, our schools, we are still training people for the colonial days. And this is a fact. I know I'm an educator and an educationist and everything. I've tried to fight some of these challenges, but one can only do so much. It's not that I've given up. And therefore, we must appreciate that the future of jobs is changing. Now, from the Future of Jobs 2020 report of the World Economic Forum, they said that 85 million jobs may be displaced by a shift in the division of labor between humans and machines by 2025. However, there's an opportunity that about 97 million new roles may emerge because of the division of labor. Look at the division of labor. It's no longer about among different skills. Machines and algorithms. That is what we are dealing now. And this means that education must be disrupted. And our guest of honor, please take this back to the Ministry of Education. The World Economic Forum suggests 3 things. The first one we all know very well, which is disrupting the legacy curriculum so that we can move away from subjects to building skills for inquiry, for analysis, for interpretation, so that we can move beyond reading, writing, and arithmetic to critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, communication, and coding. This, of course, goes hand in hand with eliminating artificial subject and knowledge boundaries. I tell many young people that I stopped thinking about arts and sciences long ago because I found that it doesn't make sense. You are a more complete human beings by recognizing that all those boundaries are artificial. Knowledge is a single integral whole. And therefore, we must disrupt our curricula. All the way from primary school, something must change. Then number two is disrupting the role of teachers. Now the academics in the forum, and I used to be one of them, I think I'm still one of them. You know, this enjoyment in standing up in front of a group of students and looking like you are the source of knowledge. You are no longer the source of knowledge. The source of knowledge are the students sitting in front of you. They're your colleagues. It is online. It is all around you. You become a learner along with the students, each one sharing their experiences and perspectives in order to contribute to general learning. That is the second disruption, and probably the hardest to accept because teachers must be redefined at all levels. And then, of course, accelerating the pace of learning to better match or better still be ahead of the pace of change in skills demands. Now, colleagues, I would actually personally question the relevance and applicability of long stays in colleges and universities to acquire knowledge and skills that will be obsolete by the time you graduate. I believe that beyond the foundational educational stages, both primary, secondary, and university level, developing the right mindset, it is better to go into the field and continue learning and relearning. I believe that approach is more suitable to an environment where the skills you learn today are totally irrelevant tomorrow, where the knowledge you acquire today is outdated by tomorrow. Apart from the fundamental, the basics, those are always key. But we spend a lot of time learning things we never apply. I used to joke with my students, and this is about 30 years ago in engineering. I say, guys, be careful, because when you get out there in the field, you are probably going to utilize only about 10% of what you are learning. So start expanding your learning, because what you are getting in university is far from sufficient to keep you going. Let us now move on to turbocharging research, and under that I'll address the subject of artificial intelligence, open research, and Internet of Things. Now, a small part of this audience might remember the abstracting journals. Yes, abstracting journals, anyone? Monthly publications of the abstracts from journals around the world. Now, the cycle between identifying a paper you wanted to read as a researcher to getting it from the library which had it was anything from 6 days to 6 months, depending on where your university was located and where the learning library was located, which meant that research moved along at the pedestrian speed of postal services. Later on, we moved into the online journal databases, and we all know them, which meant that you could search a lot faster, and search engines came up. Engines like Google initially, then Google Scholar started coming up. So the researcher could now look and identify many abstracts in a very short time. Colleagues, that is the history. The last few years, artificial intelligence has been driving online researches. I did a test, actually. I ran the string, the Fifth Industrial Revolution and implications, and I tried 2 search engines. One of them was Google Scholar, which I hope all of you know, because it is much better than the general Google, google.com. And Google Scholar returned a staggering 708,000 titles in 0.1 seconds. Okay, that sounds good, but how on earth are you going to pour through 708,000 titles? I then tried the same string with, again, many of you should know, Semantics Scholar, because Semantics Scholar is driven by artificial intelligence. And I got 44 returns, along with abstracts. And when I looked at them, each of them was precise and to the point. It was exactly what I was looking for. And this demonstrated, and that's why I brought it up as an example, the strengths and the greater efficiency and effectiveness of utilizing artificial intelligence-driven research. Now, I also wanted to use IRIS. By the way, IRIS is iris.ai is considered one of the most advanced artificial intelligence-driven search engines. But then they wanted to collect my information and everything, even for the free version, so I left it alone. But what I'm trying to put across is that nowadays research has changed. It is disrupted. We are no longer relying on journals and journal articles. We are relying on very quick analysis of material. And therefore, you find that if you look at our current approaches to research, we are probably several generations behind. The more advanced search engines use natural language processing, which means that instead of trying to identify keywords, you can enter a paragraph describing what it is you are looking for. You can even enter a whole paper because using natural language processing, they compare both content and context with relevance to what you are looking for, which is why you get those refined returns in a very short time. Now, combined with that is the need for open knowledge. And let me just give an example. The research for COVID, the search for COVID vaccines, led one of the biggest global collaborations. One was utilizing artificial intelligence to do the crunching and thinking through and processing and everything. But the other was persuading publishers, many publishers, to create an open database for any research about COVID-19. You can actually find that data set online. Anybody says it. So that this avoids the usual practice of scientific publications being locked up behind cost and access restricted barriers. And this is what turbo boosted the development of the COVID-19 vaccines. So the opportunities are there. Coming back to our context, colleagues, let us face it. Any university or research institution that does not plan to invest in and exploit artificial intelligence as their core research tool at the earliest will be left behind and even fail as a research or a teaching university. We cannot continue at that pace when the rest of the world now moving ahead very fast. Now, this is, of course, an opportunity for RENS, TANET, and the others, and Matthews who want to net, so that we can pull resources and ensure that these high-end engines, because all of them have got the low-end, open, and free versions, but to really get to the real efficiency, it is going to cost money, and that is going to call for collaboration. Now, closely associated with this is the Internet of Things. Now, I look at the Internet of Things, if you like, as the boots on ground. Boots on the ground is used quite often in the army. So if you have got a platoon on the front line, they are given a mission, or maybe they are behind enemy line, but they have a mission. The situation is going to be changing from time to time, but they are empowered to observe, to take decisions, and to take action, and then report back. Now, this is what happens when you combine the Internet of Things with artificial intelligence, because the Internet of Things moves to the front and you can see what is happening everywhere. Now, this could be about researching disease or diseases of plants or human beings or whatever, or climate, whatever it is. You can observe what is happening in multiple locations simultaneously utilizing the Internet of Things. And quite often, these are the phones of people that move around with their mobile phones. And then you bring all that data together. Along that, you have got edge computing, because the Internet of Things and the devices are being given more and more computational capability. Now, when you merge that with artificial intelligence, you have really taken a quantum step ahead. So you merge artificial intelligence, open research, everybody has got access to the data, and the Internet of Things, and then you have got a very powerful research engine. The question then is, how can we exploit this? You know, Africa has got one of the biggest genetic resources in terms of our flora, our forests and everything. And therefore, we have got the opportunity to be leaders in things like actually medicine, in things like agriculture, animal husbandry, fisheries, in a lot of things. These are our opportunities, colleagues. The technology is around. What are we doing to ensure that our countries are not perpetually behind, but can jump ahead? Remember that when mobile phones came, Africa gave the world mobile money. What is it that we can do as African countries to up the game of our universities and our researchers, so that instead of being simply followers, we come up with groundbreaking research that is going to drive the world ahead and put us at the forefront? And therefore, that is the challenge of research. So, colleagues, research has also been disrupted. It's no longer business as usual in research. Now, let's look at some facts about people, technology, and try and find the balance. And that is the last part of the discussion today, colleagues. The fourth industrial revolution has driven technology to the forefront, and it is the in thing. But there is a challenge to technology always, because the ethical barriers, the ethical boundaries, and humanity and values are in a balance. To what extent do we give control to technology? That really is the key question. Because as technology develops, we get to the point where you can actually reach the singularity. The singularity is when artificial intelligence is able to design better artificial intelligence. Now, if already artificial intelligence is getting patents, in other words, it has become a scientist better than most of our scientists, as a matter of fact. What will happen when artificial intelligence starts improving on artificial intelligence? Where is the boundary? And this is the fifth industrial revolution. This is where it comes in. It is defined by efforts to create a new balance, knowing that machines, especially the Internet of Things, combined with edge computing and artificial intelligence, will increasingly have the capability to do just about anything. And that is the challenge we face. And therefore, for the first time in the history of technology development, a revolution is being defined by the need to stop what could be a dystopian future, by striking a balance between the need for technology on the one hand and the need to preserve societal values and humanity on the other hand. That is the fifth industrial revolution. Now, ladies and gentlemen, when I talk about that, I feel that Ubuntu is being vindicated as I watch and play my part in defining the fifth industrial revolution. During a keynote address, I was privileged to give to a conference in Budapest, and this was 2016. I argued that both technological and ethical pressures created by the fourth industrial revolution would call for value-based community approaches if things were not fall apart. I maintained that same thesis as one of the key statements in another keynote I was privileged to give, this time in Tallinn, Estonia, at TN 2019. Now, what the fifth industrial revolution is actually calling for, and that is fortness for us in Africa, is the ethos of Ubuntu. The realization that development that does not take into account the impact on people is dangerous. And therefore, we kind of moderate the excitement and opportunities of technology. We say that, wait a minute, we are also human beings. We are being called back to our roots. So the world is actually waking up to Ubuntu. We can again be the leaders in the fifth industrial revolution. Now, ladies and gentlemen, in Africa, as I start summing up, we all face the reality that the global digital transformation trends bring a lot of technology opportunities that we need to seize. That is a fact. I had to come to hate the overused phrase leapfrog. Now, there's a time when it became so common that I hated it. And yet it does apply now, because we are so far behind that we have actually got green fields. We can assume that nothing exists. And once you do that, you can then leapfrog. You can jump from the back straight to the front. To do this, we need a change in mindset, and I believe the guest of honor touched on this, among our top political, civil, academic leadership, and ourselves as individuals. Otherwise, we shall become the dead weight pulling down the continent once again into the market depths of underdevelopment. It is a reality that we need a total overhaul for approaches to learning and research. And if we don't remember anything else from my discussion today, let us please remember that that it is a reality that we need a total overhaul of our approaches in Africa to learning and research. That is the first one. This is not an option, it is a do or die choice. Now, change and rapid adoption, as we heard from Eneke the Bird, must, as a necessity, be embedded in our Ubuntu ethos. That we at all stages do not treat people as something to be cast aside, but as an opportunity for creating new skills for the fourth and the fifth industrial revolution. Now, permit me to end by quoting our respected statesman. Yes, I didn't show that slide, I beg your pardon, but kind of show the trends from the first, the second, the third, the fourth, and the fifth industrial revolution. And you can see that for the first time, a revolution has got the sign of a heart, not the sign of technology. That, colleagues, is where we are going, striking the balance as we have the fourth and the fifth industrial revolution. So the fourth has not yet ended, but the fifth comes in to moderate the fourth, so that humanity still has a chance and meaning. So as I conclude, our elder statesman, freedom fighter, inspiration, said, we know that we have it in ourselves as Africans to change all this. We must assert our will to do so. We must, in action, say that there's no obstacle big enough to stop us from bringing about a new African renaissance. I thought quoting this was important because actually the fifth industrial revolution is being looked at by many people as a new renaissance for the world. Thank you, guest of honor. Thank you, Chair, for the session. And thank you, everyone, for listening to me. Enjoy the rest of the conference. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Tusubira, for your very thoughtful keynote speech. And I should apologize because of the balance between our physical interaction and the virtual interaction. I couldn't introduce you. Dr. Tusu.
But you are hosts, I'm done. I don't have anything more to say.
Although we have your bio on the website, and for those participants who have gone through the website should have seen. But briefly, Dr. Tusu is an international recognized ICT professional who is a transformational leader and a regional thinker responsive to change. And I think you could see that from his keynote speech. And therefore, I think after listening what you have said, the key issues that you have highlighted is for us who are living in developing countries to be able to nurture the relevance of digital transformation based on our context. I think Dr. Tusu has highlighted about 5 key issues that we can follow in order to be able to nurture the process of digital transformation based on our context. And most important, I think, the issue of having a balance between people and technology, because as he started, he highlighted that the transformation we are talking about is not only just about technology. There are issues of culture, there are issues of business processes, and people also coming in. So I think that was a very thoughtful keynote speech for us, setting, underlying a tone for our conference. Maybe, I'm not sure if we're still online.
Sure, but we can't hear what is being said.
Okay. If we have any contribution from the floor, at least 2 or 1. Okay.
Thank you very much. My name is Paul Kaunda. I'm a lawyer by profession, but also a co-founder and CEO of Wakilab. It's an online to offline portal which connects advocates and people in need of legal services in Tanzania. Actually, mine is just a word of appreciation to the keynote speaker. Actually, I came here as a layman, although this is the scientific technological dialogue, I didn't know anything about the oncoming fifth industrial revolution. So to that, Dr. Tusubira, you have really enlightened our minds, and thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Matthew Mtumbuka, CEO of Bunnet Alliance, a successor to the successor to Tusu. So Tusu, thank you very much for a wonderful and very inspiring, insightful presentation. A number of times you mentioned of how much bandwidth we need at exponential levels to sustain the new norm, where education cannot be done the nomadic way, as you put it. And just to assure you and everybody here that as Bunnet Alliance, we are currently evaluating bids in response to a very big tender to connect new countries, including Botswana, Mauritius, Madagascar, and others, but also to boost the existing capacity in Somalia, Malawi, Uganda, Zambia, and also to boost the backbone in response to exactly what you are prophesying. So just for the comfort of yourself and also everybody here, Bunnet Alliance is doing that. We have financing for the connectivity for the next 4 years ending 2023 to the tune of nearly 10 million euros funded by the European Union to do these connections. Thank you very much.
Then this will be our last contribution from the floor. We have to continue the time.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I really came here not thinking to find such an eloquent person who will make me get out of this building ashamed of myself. As an old fellow who has been in ICT for all this time, he really touched the part that has ashamed me for the entire time. Simple issue like e-learning. In our universities, it is still struggling. And I would call upon everyone who is here. Actually, if we get out, once we get out of this conference, although our colleague is calling us for fifth industrial revolution, I think the small issue like just saying from now on, electronic online learning in universities must be a must. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you all. Once again, Dr. Tusu, we thank you for your keynote speech. Another hand of applause for Dr. Tusu, please.
Thank you very much and enjoy the conference.
Okay, thank you. We should go now for a group photo, and then when we come back, we will have 2 parallel sessions, which will take place in different rooms. Organizers, please, directions on the 2 different rooms. We will have 2 parallel sessions. One will be chaired by Dr. Matthew Mtumbuka, and the other one will be shared by Dr. Moses Mwasaga after the group photo. As I said earlier, the group photo is arranged at the down floor. May I have your attention, please? There are two venues indicated in the timetable, venue 1 and venue 2. So for those who will be participating in venue 1, this is venue 1. The main room which we are using is venue 1. And venue 2 is opposite to this venue. So the two venues indicated in the timetable are those ones. Venue 1 is this one, and the venue 2 is opposite to this one.
Hello? I've seen one, the first one. Yeah, they're looking for the other three. I know. You never know. Hello. Can I have the 4 presenters here, please? I have the first one, but the other 3 presenters, if you can come up front, please. And also, let's be seated. The 4 presenters, please come and sit up front. I think we need one more chair. Oh, yeah. All right. Okay, yeah, then I use this one for me. Could the 4 presenters come up front, please? I am talking about Nyangaka, Mwenga, Nalaila, and Dr. Mato. Please come up front. Nyangaka is already here, very organized presenter. The other 3 presenters, please come up front. And could the ushers help us to get people back into the conference room, please, so that we start on time, so that we can have our lunch in good time. Please, let's come into the conference room if we can. Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's come to the front seats, please. The front seats, so that in the middle, if we can also. The presentation will be in the middle here.
Wanatumia hii project. Tunaomba msogee mbele, inarahisisha hata uchukuaji wa picha. The way mlivyokaa mmetawanyika, picha inakuwa haikai vizuri. Kwa hiyo tunaomba msogee viti vya mbele. Na kwa sababu display ni katikati, tukae hilo ya katikati. Columns.
We start in 3 minutes, so let's take position, please. Do you mind to use that seat so that I'm closer? Is it safe? Be sure. Before I can invite you. You don't want, when I invite you, I don't want to panic. I want to just come straight in. The one doing the slides, can you test the slides, please, so that we are sure? Because we're starting now. Can you try to beam the slides? Test. Who's controlling the slides? Hand up. Who is beaming the slides? Who? It's a... I want to be sure that the slides can beam, so that when I introduce the speaker, we go straight. Technical team, can you come and help here? Where is our technical team? Who is our technical team? Please come here, sir. I want to see that the slides are beaming. Can you show me the slides from the laptop? All right, wonderful. Excellent. So now we can start. I'll temporarily pull down my mask. So I welcome you to this session. My name is Matthews Mtimbuka. I'm the CEO of Bunet Alliance, all the way from Malawi, where the headquarters of Bunet Alliance.